Hello and welcome to Wild Earth Ways. I'm Kat, and this is a VR to the tag Show Us Your Decks that was started by Feeding Your Soul. It's also my first video in about a year and a half. When I stopped making my videos, my channel was still quite young, so I began making videos in 2023 and stopped in 2023. Recently, I tried recording a new video about my current practice and I found it quite difficult. The problem was I didn't know how to explain about what has been happening in the past year and a half, which has been a very difficult period and has included many things I don't want to share or can't share. So instead of giving up altogether on expression, I thought I'd join this tag and it might be a way to ease into speaking again. So I appreciate your patience if I'm a little hesitant. I'll try and edit out the pauses as much as possible. And with that said, let's dive in to the first prompt. Now the first prompt is a deck you want to use, but for whatever reason hasn't seen any playtime on your desk. I don't really have any decks which I have never used. I think all of my decks I have at some point read with, but I've chosen a deck which I have very rarely read with and certainly not recently. And that is the Tarot de Maria Celia, which is by Leonard Jim Narciso. This is a very cute little Marseille deck in a tin. You can see it has lots of kind of pretty floral designs. I think it's gorgeous, and I have read with it a few times. It reads nicely, but I don't reach for this one. And I think the reason is simply that I'm not used to reading Marseille. I'm very much a Smith-Waite system tarot reader, so I tend not to reach for this. It's my only Marseille deck, and I'm happy to have one, and one day I'd quite like to read with it, but it doesn't really suit my tarot practice, which is very much about storytelling and narrative, so creative writing, as I'm probably going to show later in this video. But I do think this is a lovely deck, and I'm glad to have it in my collection as my only Marseille. So that's the Tarot de Maria Celia, a deck that has very little time on my desk. Sorry about that, Tarot de Maria Celia. So the next prompt is, what is the deck, the 12th from the right on your tarot shelf? And I counted and I found that was for me the Bianco Nero, which is by Marco Proietto, an Italian deck, Smith-Waite based, black and white deck. I'll show you a couple of cards. These are the backs, and this is what it looks like. I've shown it before on my channel. I don't like this deck very much. I like the sensuality of the figures and the storytelling nature of the images. They're kind of mixed. I don't like all of the images, but I do find them to be very characterful, and it makes a nice deck for creative writing prompts. So this one definitely works well in my practice. And that's the deck 12th from the right on my tarot shelf, the Bianco Nero. Now the next prompt asks a deck you're thinking of rehoming, and for this I chose this one, the Visconti Sforza. You can see the cover is a little dusty. This deck I bought a very, very long time ago. I'm trying to think when, but I can only think it must be over maybe 22, 23 years ago, something like that. And I remember buying this deck. I bought it from the British Library. At the time I was studying my master's in medieval history, and I was doing a course on magic. and medieval magic. And this was in the library. It was in the British Library bookshop, and that's where I bought it. Now you can see it's a reproduction of the 15th century deck. And I just bought it out of interest in medieval art, medieval thought. Comes down this card. And I never have read with this deck as far as I can remember. It's just lived on the bookshelf. And if I'm honest, I find it to be a little bit creepy. It's a bit creepy to me. So I'm thinking I can probably rehome this one, and then I have one less thing in my house, which I find a bit creepy. So this is probably going to be given away, donated next time I'm in Europe. So where I live, there isn't really any kind of market or exchange for tarot decks. It isn't a common thing here at all. And so I tend to wait until I go to Europe and then donate the decks there where hopefully somebody can find them who will value them. So I'm probably gonna give away the Visconti Sforza. I have a number of decks which I want to donate next time I'm in Europe, and I may well make a video about that, like a declutter video soon. In the past year and a half, I have actually given away a number of decks, so my deck collection has gotten a little bit smaller than it was previously, but I still feel like I have more than I need, so I'm likely to do a declutter soon. Now, the next prompt is a deck that you don't store in its original box. And I have quite a few decks I don't store in their original boxes. If they came in big boxes, I usually have them in a pouch like this. This deck, it's a very special deck to me. This is one of my top 3 tarot decks. This is the Witch's Wisdom. It came in a lovely big box, and it also came with its own bag. I'll show you the bag. The bag is like this. Now, this deck I was using a lot. I had it out a lot, and for a long period of time, I don't know, about a year or so, I guess I was reading with it very, very regularly, almost daily, and I got to know the deck very well. I'll flip through the cards in case you're not familiar, or so that you've got something to look at. I guess most people are familiar with this deck. It's very beautiful. And the reason I switched it out of its bag, which is a nice one, to this pouch, which I got off Etsy. I'm afraid I don't remember where from. It was a shop in the UK, but I don't remember the name of it, and I'm not sure if it's still on Etsy. The reason I switched was because you can see on this bag, it has these strings, these dangling strings. And like I say, I had the deck out quite a lot, and I have a cat who likes to chew on anything like this. And so she did, unfortunately, chew on it, and that's not great. So I switched it for this pouch, and most of the pouches which I have are kind of like this, where you can tuck it in neatly and it doesn't have any kind of dangling strings, and that's because of my cat, the one that chews. Not all my cats chew things, but one of them does. So I had to move it into this pouch, which I think is beautiful. It's magnolia flowers, and it's kind of padded, so it protects the deck really nicely. And in the original pouch, I'll show you what I have in there now. In the original pouch, I have this deck, which is the Green Wheel Oracle by Danielle Barlow, and she's the same artist as the Witch's Wisdom. So this deck I keep in this pouch, and to be honest, I don't really use this deck. It's another one I could have picked it for the deck that doesn't get much time. I don't really use it, but to be honest with you, I don't intend to use it currently. It doesn't really fit my landscape so it's a kind of seasons of the wheel deck. Where I live, we don't have the same seasons, and so it doesn't completely fit, and I think that's why I don't use it particularly, but I keep it because I think the artwork is beautiful, and because I'm so attached to this deck. So that is the deck. I don't keep in its original box, and I chose for this the Witch's Wisdom. The Witch's Wisdom by the way, is by Phyllis Carrot and Danielle Barlow. We'll see this in another prompt shortly. The next prompt is a deck with more or less than 78 cards, and I'm trying as much as possible to choose tarot decks here, so not oracle decks. Obviously, oracle decks have a wide variety of numbers of cards. I have chosen a tarot deck that has, in fact, 87 cards. This is the Tarot of Japanese Poetry, and it's a beautiful deck. I really like this deck. So I made a video specifically on this deck back in 2023 because it was the only tarot deck that I bought in 2023. Each card has these beautiful images painted to correspond with a haiku, a Japanese haiku. So there's a really lovely correspondence between poetry and visual art. I'm not super keen on the scrolls, but the images are lovely. And you can see already there are a number of extra cards. You can see, for example, 10 of Winter, which is like 10 of Swords. This is the first one, and there's a second one in there somewhere. And I think I've kept in all the extra cards. I love this star card. I'll see if I can find some good examples of them, because I chose this one because they have quite interesting extra cards, such as this one, Day Before Spring. So this is a card before the ace. So the moment of the season turning is quite important in Japanese poetry, traditional classical Japanese poetry, in which haikus include traditionally a season word, and the seasons are very precisely indicated by certain traditional word choices. So I like the concept of including a day before spring as well as like the first day of spring image. I think that moment of anticipation is really special. If we think of the aces as being the beginning of the sequence, there could also be a moment just before the sequence begins as well, a moment of anticipation and change. There's a number of other cards as well. I'm trying to find some examples here because they have in the deck an added card in the court cards. So we have here, so far I found Princess, King and Queen. And there's also Knight. There's the Day Before Autumn. So lovely. And then there's also Knave. So in the court cards, there are actually 5. There's the King and the Queen and the Knight, and then both a Princess and a Knave for the page, which, to be honest, I find a little bit confusing. But that's why there are extra cards, because there are all these added cards in the deck. It's a lovely deck. I'll link my video to introducing the deck below. And that is the Tarot of Japanese Poetry, which I bought off Etsy, and as far as I know, it's still available on Etsy. If you search Tarot of Japanese Poetry, you would find it if you're interested. Now, the next prompt was a deck with a cloud on the box, and for this I've chosen the Citadel. In fact, I couldn't find any other decks with clouds on their boxes, so this was my only option as far as I could tell. As I said, I do keep some decks in pouches, and so they may have had clouds on the box for all I can remember, but I didn't go digging them out of storage. I just went with this one, the Citadel. And I feel a little bit bad because I watched Peekaboo Rose's video, and she chose this deck as well for clouds on the cover of the box. And I was trying to stick to tarot, but in this case, this is my only cloudy one as far as I can tell, unless I've missed one. It comes in a box within a box. The Citadel is by Fez Inkwright. It's published by Liminal 11. I love this deck. This is a really special deck for me. So the artwork is beautiful. It's this black and rose gold images, often with hands and other items. It's kind of an archetype deck, but taking place in this imaginary citadel. And this deck has a very special place in my practice because I use it for storytelling prompts. So I have made a video about this in the past, showing how I would draw a card from this deck. This would be my character, and then I'll draw 2 tarot cards for the story. And it's getting into like what this is like is going to sound a bit crazy. I feel like it sounds a bit crazy when I talk about it, but I have like an imaginary world in which I can kind of enter into with these decks, with these images. And this deck pairs really, really well with all kinds of decks in my collection. It pairs great with decks which have kind of medievally imagery. So I tend to use it with the Pagan Otherworlds. I can use it with the Waite Smith. I can use it with Bianco Nero or Tarot of the Abyss. To be honest, it just pairs really well. I'll try and show you an example of what I'm talking about, so you can see kind of a glimpse into my slightly weird tarot practice. I should perhaps explain that I do not use tarot predictively, and I really use it mostly for perhaps either meditation, contemplation, trying to kind of understand the layers and complexities of things which may be going on in my life, or I use it for just creative writing, and that is actually my number one use of it. It's really for myself. It's not something I publish. I'll try and show you a little bit what it looks like. So this is a notebook which I recently filled up. It's a notebook from Muji. Originally it looks like this. These notebooks, I really like them. The paper is really nice with fountain pen, and they're very nice to work with. But this one, because I was using it for such a long time, the cover got a little bit stained, and so I put this tissue paper over the cover because of the stains on the cover. So it's nothing special to look at. Basically, I draw a card and then write some kind of story connected with that card. This one, I think it was something like the guide, perhaps, from the Citadel. This is another page from the Citadel. I think this one I've written, it was the Acolyte, Knave of Winter and Princess of Summer. So I drew with the tarot of Japanese poetry on this particular occasion. Sorry about the terrible doodles. These were also stories connected with cards from the Citadel. So you can see it's just a book in which I have written, in which I write spontaneous stories connected with the cards which I pull. Essentially, it's escapism, and it's a way of practicing creativity in a very just for fun kind of a way. So that's how I use the Citadel and why it's such an important deck for me. Now, the next prompt is a deck you've never shown on your channel before. And for this, I have the Heartwood Tarot. And this is the only tarot deck I've bought this year. So recently I haven't really bought many decks at all. In 2024, I just added one deck to my collection. That was this one. this version of the Shadowscapes. I'm going to get into this later in the video. I already have I have several copies of the Shadowscapes. I just didn't have this format, and I decided to buy this format. This is my favorite deck, actually, the Shadowscapes. And I was using it in a project, and I picked up this one last year, and that was the only tarot that I added to my collection in 2024. And I did declutter quite a few, so my collection got a little smaller. This one I bought this year. I have had my eye on it for quite a long time. It's the Heartwood. It's created by Stephanie Burrows and Adam Ohlers. These are the backs with the little sleeping mouse. And here's the deck. I already had the Oak, Ash and Thorn and the Smoke, Ash and Embers, and I love both of those. And I had my eye on this deck from the time of the pre-orders, but I didn't go ahead and buy it simply because I wasn't really wanting to add anything new. I wasn't working with tarot really almost at all, and so it didn't seem sensible to go and buy new decks in that context. I was just feeling also, and still am, feeling very cautious about new things, adding in new things. It's difficult to explain, but in the end I decided to go ahead and get this deck, and I'm glad I did. I've read with it a couple of times since I got it, which was just last month that I received it, and I think it's lovely, and it's obviously quite suitable for storytelling, although I don't tell stories with animals. They're still very plot-driven cards, as you can see. So that is the Heartwood. I know it's been shown all over TarotTube, so you've already seen it, most likely. And this is my newest tarot deck. The next prompt is a deck with an animal other than a lion on the Strength card. And for this, I've chosen the John Bower Tarot. And this is the lovely Strength card with this little girl and a bear. I think it's beautiful. And it really conveys that concept of strength and gentleness and courage. I don't use this deck very much, to be honest. I know also that there is a collected book of Swedish folktales with John Bower's illustrations, and I've wondered about buying that. And I can't decide, because if I were to know the story that this image comes from, I suppose I would always think of that story when I look at the card. And sometimes that's good, it can add a layer of meaning, but on the other hand, sometimes it's not good because it traps you into a certain way of thinking about the characters and their interaction, and maybe you know then what comes next, and it's not always satisfying. So I have held off from buying that book, but I could get it because like I say, I almost never use this deck anyway. And so that's the Strength card. Any Strength card that has a human in it has an animal other than a lion. But I went for one that also includes another kind of animal as well, a bear. The next prompt is a deck that comes in a box within another box. And for this, I chose The Wild Unknown by Kim Krans. Everybody, I'm sure, knows this deck. And it comes in a bigger box, and then this is inside the bigger box. And this deck is kind of special to me because it's the first deck I bought after a very, very long time of owning the Waite Smith and that Visconti Sforza reproduction. So for many years, those were the only two decks I owned, and I didn't even know that there were other decks, to be honest. And then for some reason, this popped up on some shop that I was browsing online, and I was intrigued, and I got this for my birthday. And I think that box within a box is very much like opening a present each time you open the deck. And this was a very, it was kind of special, you know. And I do think that that's something about tarot that draws in many people, is that it's kind of like opening up a gift when you open up the tarot deck, and you don't know exactly what you're going to get. Look at that horrible image. I don't read with this deck very much. I did use it for poetry prompts. I think I've spoken about that in a previous video. I used it for poetry prompts along with the Animal Oracle and the Archetypes Oracle by Kim Krans, and it worked fantastic. Really effective. But I don't like reading with the deck in general. I find the mood of it to be quite, it's just moody. It's really moody and heavy. And it's got like a sentimental value to me, so it hasn't gone anywhere. And like I said, I did have this good experience repeatedly with the poetry prompts. But I don't know. I don't know if this one will stay always, or if I could bring myself to give it away. I really don't know. But I have mixed feelings about the Wild Unknown, which comes in a box within a box. And I do still have that big box. I tend to keep the packaging even when I'm not using it. Now, the next prompt is a deck that would not appear in your top 10 favorites, which is kind of a funny one because I think you could maybe write different kinds of favorites and then include different decks. But in terms of a deck that doesn't appear in my top 10 favorites, I have chosen the Ostra Tarot, which is by 4 different Canadian artists, and is a deck which I am likely going to be giving away. It comes in this awkward box. I'll just show you a couple of cards. Yeah, it's pretty. Oh, it's in order, you can see, because I'm prepared for donating this one next time I travel. And I do quite like the Pentacles, I must say, but I love that card, for example. That's beautiful. And this is the problem I think often I have, is that I might like a particular card, like this page. I think I like all the pages because they're always with foxes in this deck. But there's a lot of cards I don't like. And so yeah, I think, and I don't read with it. I don't find it easy to read with. I have had some good readings with it, yet somehow it just doesn't quite invite me in. Now I'm going to see one of my favourite cards, that Queen of Pentacles. It's so gorgeous. Really, why am I giving this one away? But then look at that. I don't like that at all. The King of Pentacles. So it's a mixed bag. And yeah, that's the Ostra Tarot. It's also not, it doesn't have nice gilding. It's kind of sharp gilding. I don't use it, and I think perhaps somebody else might enjoy it more than me. So that one doesn't go in any top 10 favorites. I'm sorry about that, Ostra Tarot. The next prompt is a deck you associate with the color green. For this, I have chosen the Forest Fae, which is a little oracle. It's very green. That's really why I chose it. It's by Nadia Turner, and these are the backs. And you see, it doesn't have a guidebook, it just has a title and a little piece of advice, like this. The Autumn Fae, go slowly and listen closely for the words of the tree spirits. They're not all green, but there's a lot of green. So even you have like green hair and green skin, it's pretty green. And I really like it, actually. I think it's a very sweet deck. I love that card. The Storyteller. Stories are medicine, strengthening and renewing. So beautiful. So the messages are really nice as well. This is a simple little deck for when you just want like a little pick-me-up card pull, the Forest Fae. Prompt number 12 is a secondhand, pre-loved, pre-owned, thrifted deck. I don't have any. I don't have any thrifted decks. Where I live, there really isn't any kind of market for them, I suppose. It's just really, like I said before, it's just not part of the culture. And when I'm elsewhere, I've got usually lots of other things. When I'm in other countries, I mean, usually I have lots of people to see and things to do, so I don't normally go looking for decks. So I do not have any thrifted decks to show. The next prompt is your most used guidebook, and that is the guidebook for the Witch's Wisdom. I think you can see it's looking a little bit beaten up. It's written by Phyllis Carrot, and it's really good. Like with each card, oh, that's a noisy spine. I don't know if you can hear that. You have a wisdom section, which is kind of a description of the image on the card, but sort of guided imagery. Essence, which is keywords. Counsel, which is some advice. And magic, which is some kind of activity. And I think I especially appreciate this guidebook because the cards don't follow the typical Smith-Waite system, and so it's almost like an oracle deck in some respects. So sometimes it helps to have a little bit of interpretation, but also on the other hand, I do think it's really well written, and it's a great guidebook. So I really enjoy this one, The Witch's Wisdom, and because it's also probably one of my 3 most used decks as well. It's just had a lot of time with me. The next prompt is a deck with water on the box, and again I had to go with an oracle for this. I think there may be a deck in my collection which had water on the box, but it's no longer in its box, so I pulled this one, the Sea Soul Journeys Oracle Cards by Pippa Best. I have shown this for sure on my channel before, and I really like this deck. It's beautiful. It's full of water imagery. This is actually one of the back designs. There's a number of different back designs because the cards are grouped into different themes. And it's a photography deck, which includes a keyword and a blessing, such as accept, may you receive what is as it comes. Journey, may you seek adventure, and so on. I think it's gorgeous. And the sea is important to me. I love swimming in the sea. I love sharing the sea with my children when we go. And I often pull a card around our visits to the sea. So we were there. We went swimming in the sea a week or 2 ago, I think. And when we came back, I pulled a card, but I don't remember what it was. Oh, maybe it was this one. Joy, may you pursue what lights you up, which is a lovely message. The sea was still a little bit cold. I prefer swimming in a warm sea, I must say. So it was still a little bit cold, and we mostly just kind of splashed around. But it was still lovely to reconnect with the sea. So that's my deck with water on the front, the Sea Soul Journeys Oracle cards. The last prompt is a deck with your favorite card ever and why. I'm sure you can imagine this is very difficult. I could have chosen a number of cards as my favorite card. I love the Pilgrim card, the Fool card in the Witch's Wisdom. I love the Ten of Cups in the Waite Smith. it would be possible to pull a number of cards for this, but I thought, okay, I'll try and choose just one, and I chose from Shadowscapes Tarot, which, like I said, is my number one deck. And the card which I especially appreciate is the World card. The World card in Shadowscapes is this beautiful figure holding a globe in a kind of bower, surrounded by birds, stars, and a distant moon. Actually, quite a close moon. I love the feeling of peacefulness and being integrated with nature, the harmony in the image, the sense of being part of the universe and being part of the kind of the growing earth with the birds and the stars. I like the colour scheme as well, the green and the deep purple and silver tones. It's very beautiful, and it always gives a sense of peaceful contemplation. I do appreciate the artwork of Stephanie Puy-Munlaw for how she represents the beauty of nature. I mean, I realise it's going beyond nature. She is a fantasy artist, but she sees and communicates the magic and the beauty of our world. And this is why I love this deck so much. Look at this star card. It's another favourite, to be honest. She's so talented, and I think also her art is grounded in a vision of the world, which I find to be very important. Like, everything is in communication with everything else. There's a kind of equality in the world. She is going to be publishing a new deck in September, the Verdance Tarot, which I'm very excited for. I will certainly be picking up that when I can. This Lover's card is also a favourite. Now, actually, I realise I've spoken about Shadowscapes on numerous occasions, and it's like it's getting a little old, but really this has been the deck that has been with me through this very dark time in the past year and a half. It's kept reminding me that there's other ways of looking at the world, seeing beauty, as I said, seeing freedom. When you're feeling very trapped, I do think the movement and flow of her images reminds you of that, reminds you of freedom. So while I haven't, in the past year or so, I haven't really been reading cards very much at all for various reasons. One thing I have been doing is writing card by card a story essentially set in a world like this, pretty similar to this. I'll grab one of my notebooks so I can show you what I mean. So I'll just move the cards aside for a moment. This is another Muji notebook. This one's a little larger, so I have a little bit more space to think. And I have been basically writing. Like, it's difficult to show in any clear way. Kind of bit of prose, bit of poetry in a story set in this world, basically. It's really just exists in this notebook, and it's not something I wrote for publication. I wrote it simply to create a better world than the real one, and for myself to practice creativity, to have a way to tell stories. yeah, I'm thinking I might start sharing some of my writing over on Instagram. I hope soon I might pluck up the courage to start sharing some poems, for example, over on Instagram again. So if it's something you're interested in seeing, let me know, and you can find me on Instagram, the same name, Wild Earth Ways. And at some point also I'll try and make a video about journaling with the tarot as well. Although I think that my practice is kind of weird, so I'm not completely certain that how much it will make sense or how much it will be of value, I suppose, to other people. But yeah, I might try and share something about that before too long. If you've listened to this point, thank you so much for staying with me and listening to me ramble on. I'm a little rusty. I might be able to cut out some of the ums, but probably not all of them, given the amount of hesitation as I was talking in this video. Anyway, it was a lovely tag. Thank you very much to the creator and to those who have shared it here on YouTube. And I very much hope to see you again soon. Bye.